What you're seeing now was easily my heaviest that I have ever been. I had been overweight for years makes no difference my entire life. And during the shooting of this video back in 2013, I was pushing towards 300 pounds, if I wasn't already. Shortly after that video, I decided to try to lose weight for the first time, and I was somewhat successful at it. I bought a scale, and I weighed myself about 2 weeks into just calorie counting diet, and I had gone down to 283. And for me, that was the starting point. It wasn't my actual starting point, but for record keeping, it was my starting point. And I got down to 258 by the summer. And I can't tell you, like, what made me stop trying to lose weight. I can't tell you... I can't tell you what demotivated me, but I did. I stopped trying to count my calories. I stopped trying to go on walks, and even though I never got that fat again, it was not the direction I wanted to go in. But for a while, it was just life. But then I started having my back and hip and neck issues. For a good chunk of time, starting in 2015, I want to say, I began seeing doctors, specialists, trying to find some means to manage the pain that I was living in near constantly. And it all amounted to just, there's not much we can do, but you might be able to mitigate some of the damage that's been done to your body, and you might be able to lead a more fulfilling and healthy life if you lost weight, which would not be the first time I heard that. So, around March 9th of 2017, actually it was March 9th of 2017, I just couldn't take it anymore. I could not stand to live my life the way I had lived. I was emboldened by the success that I initially had on my first weight loss back in 2014, that I thought that at the very least, if I just kept recording calories again and just kept myself underneath a plateau, then I could at least lose 20 pounds. And I just made it a habit. And I just kept doing it week after week, month after month. And 1 year later, and not only have I lost way more weight than 25 pounds, as of the recording of this date, I'm 190 pounds. That's down to my skivvies, but 190 pounds. And there's a lot going through my mind right now as I'm telling you all of this, because this is the first time I've been on camera talking about my health and my personal life in such a frank way for all of you. And it's kind of scary and it is kind of intimidating, but as people began noticing my weight loss over me doing Anime Abandon, they kept remarking about, like, oh my god, you look so great, and well, what are you doing? And I felt like I should at least be as honest about the process and about as honest as I can be about the transition of losing such a large amount of weight over what I have been told is a very short amount of time, and what that means for me and how that relates to everyone else. However, I do want to give this video some structure to everyone who has been asking what I've done and how did I do it, because if I told you what I did, and if I told you exactly every little thing I did, it wouldn't necessarily help you, because what worked for me might not work for you. What I will do instead is talk about the thought process and the tools that I used to help me do what I did, and hopefully those same tools can help you do what you feel like you need to do for yourself. I broke down what I did down to 3 steps. And the first one being the most important. And that is, have more than one reason to do this. As I said before, my initial reason to lose weight was to not hurt. Back in March, my only goal was to not hurt anymore. I live in pretty much near constant pain. It varies from day to day. Sometimes it's a fairly benign pain. It's like discomfort. And other days it's like somebody taking their knuckle and pressing it as hard as they can into the soft of your back. And it makes sitting at my desk very difficult some days. And it makes sleeping impossible most nights. When you live a life like that, having a reason to losing weight to stop that from happening becomes all-encompassing. You can't not do it. So that was my only motivating factor as I started to lose weight. And it was initially successful up until September when I lost 50 pounds. But as I lost 50 pounds and I reached below the 220 mark, which according to my height means I was no longer medically considered obese, I was now just simply overweight, which is a cosmetic thing at that point. But as I reached that point, a thought happened to me, and I couldn't stop that thought from happening. I lost 50 pounds. Why do I still hurt? That was a tough pill to swallow. When I still had sleepless nights and I still had my neck still creaking every time I turn my head a certain way. I still can't look behind me to when I drive my car. I can't look totally behind me. I have to kind of turn like Batman to do it. It was a blow to everything I've done. It was 6 months completely washed down the drain as far as I was concerned, because it's like there was only one reason I was doing this, and now I got to a point where it's like I'm nowhere close to having achieved that. I probably will never achieve it. And I couldn't, and I spiraled. I couldn't force myself to care to log my calories anymore. Stopped going to the gym. And I just went to pieces. I drank again, because that was the only way I could sleep at night. And I was back to square one, ostensibly. It was around Thanksgiving that the thought occurred to me that maybe I should pick up the weight loss again. I was scared to step on the scale to see the damage that I know that I've caused to myself. Or rather, maybe damage is too negative a word. The steps I've taken back. The backstepping, the backtracking that I've done. And sure enough, I got the gumption to step back on the scale, and it was 230. I gained about 15 pounds since September to Thanksgiving, and that was just a kick in the pants to me. I just said, like, you got yourself underneath the obesity marker, and now you're back into the obesity territory. Why did you do this? You were so good, you were so ironclad in your resolve until now. Why did you stop? And I kept thinking about those nights of, those sleepless nights, and I just thought, well, if I can't live a life free of pain, then I can at least live a life where I'm trying to improve it every day. And I'm telling you all of this because I used to believe that any reason was a good reason to lose weight, as long as it got you to lose weight. But the more I thought about it, and the more I lived it and experienced it, the more I realized that any reason is a good reason, but some reasons are better than others. And there is no one singular reason that is better than multiple good reasons. Because any reason can fail. Any reason can fail you, especially given over time. So if you're of the mindset that you want to get healthier and lose weight, you have to take stock of why you want to do this and really think about what's motivating you to do it. Which leads me pretty neatly to my second tip, and that is to look inside yourself and really look hard. And you cannot flinch at some of the darker, more negative aspects of yourself, because those are the parts of yourself that are going to guide you towards success by telling you what you either can't do or you're just not able to will yourself to do. Because when you know that, then you can start guiding your life by what you can do and what you are able to will yourself to do. It allows you to replicate an environment where you have been successful, so you can repeat that success further in future endeavors. As it relates to me, I was able to look at my first initial weight loss, and I was able to look at what made me succeed the first time around. And it came down to the fact that it wasn't the thought of not wanting to look like a blob anymore. Why I succeeded was when I counted my calories, I felt like I was taking away the mystique and the mystery of weight loss. It wasn't me fighting the dragon. It was me just playing a numbers game. And that was appealing to me. It was appealing to me because I've always been a numbers guy. I liked the thought of something as daunting and as seemingly insurmountable as trying to put myself in a healthy body. Really all just came down to a long, protracted game of numbers, keeping myself underneath a baseline of calories, not taking in more than I really actually needed. And that helped me, psychologically speaking, because your eyes lie to you all the time. Not just in your appearance, but what's in front of you outside of your body. Like when you look at a plate of food and you're thinking, well, this is a normal plate of food because this is the plate of food I've always had whenever I've had dinner or I've had a meal. And it never occurs to you like how much you're actually putting into your body, especially if you're not paying attention to how many of one thing you're putting in. Like what is a mound of rice? Like if you had rice, what is this mound of rice? How much rice is that? It doesn't even occur to you to even think about that. But when you break down what you're actually putting in your body and logging everything that you're putting in your body, then you can't help but become aware of what you're putting in your body. So I got into the habit of logging my food, not only logging my food of what I ate, but how much I ate, down to the gram in a lot of cases. Right now, I'm on a regimen where I have a set breakfast, a set lunch, and a set dinner, and I rarely, if I ever, go over 1,800 or 2,000 calories. And it has worked for me for the past 3 or 4 months I've been doing this regimen, and I've been liking the results I've been getting so far. But but I know that I wouldn't be able to do that if I hadn't gotten in my head that this was helping me to lose weight. If I hadn't just etched that into stone inside me, saying like, this has helped you and this will continue to help you. Another thing that helped me was realizing that I thrived under a schedule. A lot of us, I recognize, can't really thrive underneath a schedule because it feels like a prison of sorts. But when I think back to all the times I've succeeded in my endeavors, it's always been in a very scheduled and very controlled environment where you wake up at a certain time, you do something at a certain time, and you continue to operate like that. And it sounds robotic and it does sound lifeless on the outside looking in, but I can't help the fact that I was born into an American scholastic society where you have to constantly work at a schedule. Constantly segmented from day to day in a succession of days, seemingly endless succession of days, rather. And what I mean by living by a schedule is that I wake up pretty much every day, except for Sunday, at 8 a.m. I usually have my breakfast within 2 hours that I wake up, I go on a morning run, a morning jog, depending on how my joints feel. And when I get back, I have my breakfast of my set breakfast. I do floor exercises in the afternoon, at noon, and then I have my lunch afterward, and then I go on an evening run. Again, depending upon whether or not my joints can do it or not. And breakfast, lunch, and dinner are at pretty much set times throughout the day as well. And that is how I had my most successful bit of weight loss, especially towards the latter half of my weight loss, where the pounds didn't melt away as fast as they used to. Going from 268 to 240 was relatively easy and quick. I didn't even have to run at that point. Going from 240 to 220 was more of a challenge, but 220 to 190 was the real bastard, if I'm allowed to not mince words about it. It was a real challenge for that, especially going past 200. That was bar none the hardest thing I had ever tried or I've ever done when it comes to my health. And when I finally blew past 200, I couldn't help but, cry at finally having a 1 in front of my weight instead of that pesky little 2. Okay, this might be the day that I hit below 200, and I want to get my live reaction for all of you, because if this is true, this is going to be a momentous occasion in my life. Wish me luck. Did it? I'm below 200! I know that there is a mindset to health, that health is not a number, but health is a feeling, and there is a lot of truth to that, but when it comes back, when I keep circling back to that notion that your eyes constantly lie to you. And even when I look in the mirror today, and I know that I'm only a few pounds overweight, technically speaking by medical standards, I don't feel like I've lost all the weight that I've had. But my eyes can't lie to me about numbers. I don't see a 1 and magically see a 2. And that's important to recognize. And after having talked to you all about everything I've talked about, I realized that I've basically let the cat out of the bag as far as what my step 3 is, and that is come up with a plan. As I said, it became about finding how to replicate the success that you've had previously. And for me, that was a schedule. So I looked up a number of exercise routines, something that I could keep doing over and over again, and I settled on P90. And it's hard at first. It still is hard, but it was really a daunting task at the beginning to try and do something that I've never done before, and that's work out really, really hard on weights. I've never been a weight person. I've always found them to be tedious and just straining, and that's certainly the point of weight training, but that doesn't necessarily make it that much more appealing to do. I've always been more of a running kind of guy. I know I certainly didn't look like it, even when I was ballooned up to 260, but when I did exercise during my first weight loss attempt, I liked running more than anything I would do at the gym, aside from the elliptical, but that was more to do with the fact that it was easier on my knees. But running was the only thing I ever did that was good for me, that made me feel like I was in complete control of my body. And that was important to me. One of the things that I've learned about the process of losing weight that I wish was talked about more is the lingering psychological effects it has with you. Because you change on the outside. But if you don't change on the inside, you become sort of unused to your own body. Sometimes I catch myself looking in the mirror and not even recognizing myself. If I see myself from 2013 to now, I can't believe that I'm the same person as him. I look at my hands, for instance, and I see my tendons for the first time in my adult life. And I see my veins through my skin, and I was never able to do that. And I have a moment where I feel like there's something wrong with me, and I feel like I'm in someone else's body, and it takes me sometimes long minutes for me to, remember that it's like, no, you lost weight. You're no longer 260 pounds. You're not even 280 pounds. You're not even 300 pounds. You're 190, and this is what you look like now. This is what you've been working so hard for. So, you're healthier and you are happier and you are definitely, certainly faster and stronger. So why do you feel like this? And I can't readily explain why. I openly compared it to sometimes I've openly compared it to Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, just kind of carefully cataloging his own body's transformation. And I know it sounds a little dramatic when put like that, but it's I definitely relate to that. I relate to not being at all familiar with the body that you're in. And I sometimes look at this burn right on my arm here. Well, and I burned myself Mother's Day. I look at that sometimes, and it's like a little reminder saying, like, nope, this is your body. See, you remembered the time you did that, and it kind of grounds me. I'm at a loss for words whether or not this is common to people who have lost a lot of weight, or if this is just a peculiarity in my case, because I certainly noticed, well, how could I not notice, some of the other side effects that come with massive weight loss, like loose skin. And doing my research on the loose skin thing, it always comes down to the fact that, if you've grown up fat like I did, and you spent a long time being fat like I did, like I said, all my adult life, from my teenage years into my adult life, fat, I don't think I've been below 200 since I was in high school, like freshman year high school, then it just becomes, your body just doesn't have the ability or the elasticity for your skin to snap back. It's like an old, it's like the spandex in your old underwear. At a certain point, it just doesn't have the tension to snap back anymore, and the only real way to fix it is with surgery, which costs tens of thousands of dollars and is elective, which means your health insurance will probably not cover it. So that's a reality I also have to face. I've trawled through a lot of support and message boards about the subject, and a lot of people tried to contextualize loose skin with, battle scars, because that is what remains of what your body used to look like. And I can get my head around that, and I can get behind that feeling of this is like a wound that you carry around as a reminder of what happened. And there's a grimness to it, certainly, but there's also a gritness to it. There's also a toughness that I appreciate, which also helped me get through some of the tougher aspects of my exercise routine. When I'm bathed in sweat and I'm hurting and I am sore all over and I feel like I can't go on any further, I just have to push myself further I could push myself to finish by just reminding myself that it's all in the effort of effort. It's all about proving to yourself that you can put out this energy and you can put out this amount of endearing effort. And that's important to me. It's important to me to know that I can do that. And I think that's the most important thing I've taken away from this year-long journey of mine, this the knowledge of what I can do and what I'm able to do, and it's what's continuing to drive me to keep on doing what I'm doing, to find out, well, if I'm able to do this, can I do this? Can I do this? What if I did this? And it's exciting. It's exciting to find out what I can do. And what's motivating me to keep on with P90, even after I've completed the original 90-day set, and hopefully, as I continue to grow strength and endurance, move on to P90X and other routines. I'm excited to see and experience the absolute limits of what I can do, or at least as close as I can come to my limits without hurting myself, obviously. And even though I've spoken off the cuff up till now, I feel like these last thoughts of mine need to be worded carefully, and they needed to be as put together as concisely and as well as I possibly can. So if you will forgive the sudden tonal shift of this video, I'd like to say a few additional words before I see you all off. So, here I am, as I have been many times with you all before, sitting in my chair, talking into a microphone to record my thoughts and words. And here you are, maybe for the first time, or maybe this has been the zillionth time, listening to me and allowing me to make an impact on you, giving me the privilege of being heard. But this time, I'm hoping that my words reach you all in a different way. I'm hoping that you take my words and keep them with you for a long time, and in that way, I can do for you what I was able to do for myself. Beyond anything, I wish I could reach out to you all and turn the switch inside you that I was able to turn within myself when I began my weight loss journey, but I know that's an impossibility. Hell, I might not have much longer before that same switch eases back into its original position and I return to being what I was. It very well may be that I am just living in the brief respite before I return to type. I wouldn't be the first, and I certainly would not be the last. But knowing that, I am going to summon every last drop of energy and strength I have to keep that from happening, to keep myself okay. Because at the end of the day, self-care and health is not a single battle that you win or lose. It's a war with the self. A decades-long war where you win and lose, both in equal measure, as precariously as the wind blows. If you are like me, you will have good days and you will have bad days. But as long as you keep going and keep learning about yourself and what you can do, you will have more good days than bad. You may even discover something about yourself that you never even knew you were capable of doing. And if you do, you will realize that will make all the sacrifice and sweat worth it. It's not about looking better, it's not about being able to wear trendier clothes, and it's certainly not about kowtowing to the bullies and lowlives of the world that take a sadistic pleasure in demeaning someone for their appearance. It's about yourself. It's about coming to terms with who you are now and who you can be in the future. How strong can you be? How fast can you be? How agile can you be? How long can you go? These are all questions we need to ask ourselves and find out for ourselves, because if we don't, we'll never know that about ourselves, and how dare we cheat ourselves out of knowing such vital information. Even if you're perfectly healthy, or you're in fantastic shape, or maybe you're happy being who you are right now, there is still a mountain for us to climb. Maybe it's not in our personal lives, but in our professional lives, or maybe it's in our academic lives. There is still much for us to do and to show the rest of the world what we are capable of doing. We all have flags we yearn to plant at the summit of our accomplishments, so why not make everyone strain their necks as they try to peer up at them? No matter what your endeavor is, I hope that you achieve it. I hope you work hard, and I hope that through all the grit and the sweat and the tears and everything, you come out the other end better for it. I know you can do it.